Welcome to the College to Degree podcast, a show about all things college life from actual students. I'm your host, Andrew Harper, and today I'm joined by my good friend and co-worker, Aditya Kochle. And today we're talking about international students.
Testing.
In San Francisco.
Addy, thank you so much for being on. How you been?
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first time doing a podcast, and the moment you mentioned that we are doing something like this, I was like so ready to jump on to the first opportunity that I could get like this. It's a different experience for me, and I hope I can give something valuable to our listeners through this platform. So,
I
looking forward to giving
have
something valuable.
I have the exact same thought process. It's something new for me too. I'm still figuring everything out, and I'm really excited about it. Especially just figuring out how to just conduct yourself and everything like that. I noticed early on I swore a lot, I interrupted and things like that. So I am excited to just learn, and it's a journey that I'm really excited to bring everybody on. And I think everybody that I that's in college has a story that I really want to explore. That way people coming into college and people leaving college can just kind of reflect or can learn a little bit about what college life is all about, because there is just so much to it. But Addie, you and I work together at Associated Students. I wanted to ask, how long you've been working there?
So I started off in fall this previous year in August. And the moment I got here, the first thing I did was like apply to places as soon as I could. And as lucky as I was, it's really difficult to get a gig for an international student over here the moment they arrive. And I was fortunate enough to start around October 2023. And all in all, it's been a good journey working with yourself and our other co-workers. Some of my past experience did help me secure this gig, but all in all, I would say um, it would be nice if more and more people would be able to get something so that they can supplement their living expenses over here. That
Yeah.
way these things help. So yeah, plus it's a learning experience. I am getting the opportunity to interact with a lot of people from around this place, and that's really helping me get familiar with how things work here. So yeah, all in all, a good learning experience.
So you got the job October of last year. When did you first come to the United States and start attending SF State?
So I started off on the 21st of August.
Oh, wow.
That was like my fall semester. Yeah, this was my first time around the States, first time in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the city has treated me really well.
That's good. Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy living on campus. Not living on campus and working on campus. I did a whole episode about dorm life and everything like that. It's super accommodating for just being a student in general. But uh, I guess we'll just kind of get right into the first question. Was there a major culture shock for you coming to the United States?
Okay, so again, in my past, I've been fortunate enough to have my fair share of travels. I have interacted with people from different cultures in different places. What I found different about the United States was that the direct method of approach of conversations, no beating around the bush. The conversation is quite to the point, which is good in a way. Usually, in our part of the world, people tend to dilly dally around before they get onto the actual stuff. But here, it's more direct, which I personally really liked. And yeah, I mean, so far people have treated me really well all along. People are really kind over here. if you reach out to them for any kind of help or information about some particular resource, they'll be more than happy to direct you to it. Some of them have even accompanied me if I wanted to look for a place or just suggest some resource that's available on campus. They were kind enough to direct me to where it was and how I could easily get hold of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So all in all, the city has treated me really well, and I'm thankful for that.
uh when when you first did come to SF State, were you worried about maybe connecting with anybody or sort of fitting in a way? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that always happens. Like when you come to a new place, it's always like, I don't know how the people are going to treat me, or will I be able to strike a conversation with them? Will the frequencies match or not? All these kinds of things happen, but people are really accommodating here, you- and they're really kind.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you really will adjust sooner or later. It doesn't take very long for getting to know how things work here. Yep,
Mm,
that's about it.
yeah. Well, I know my partner, he's also an international student over at Berkeley, which is actually where I'm recording from right now, which is fun, but which is why I don't have all the time to record today.
Mhm.
But um, his experience with it, from what he's told me in the past, has been very much, and he came actually in when he was in middle school around in 2014. So he's been in the States for a long time. Um,
Mhm.
but for him, he didn't have that fortune of traveling around. So it was learning a new language, learning a new culture. You're so far away from your family. And uh, I don't have that experience per se, but I was a military brat growing up, which means I was
Mhm.
away from my family, which is all over in Ohio right now. So um, it is definitely hard stepping away from your home. But for me, at least, there's a and from what Justin has told me, it is exciting to explore that opportunity, um, and to really come out and go outside of your comfort zone. Because I get homesick quite a bit, but I also enjoy the, especially with San Francisco. It's night and day from Ohio, but um, just stepping into almost an entirely new environment and just learning everything there is to learn about it and seeing just how different things are, uh, for better or worse. But uh, yeah, it's
First
well,
off, high
uh-huh.
five to the fact that we are both my father was also in the Navy,
Hmm.
and it's like the way they just raise you. You grow up to be a fighter in one way
Hmm.
or the other. You tend to find your thing to find your way around things.
Oh, and
As
that's
far as
hmm.
Mhm.
No, sorry to interrupt. I just that's what I wanted to say, not only about military brats, but also international students, is
Yes.
they are so damn strong. Like they they are aggressive, they are motivated, uh, and that's just something that I don't see. I just don't see it with a lot of local students, and especially in state or in the area students. There's this
Mhm.
very relaxed attitude, and it's like, compare that to any other any other student who's either abroad or international. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of local students tend to take things for granted sometimes, and I do the same thing myself. But it's like that hustler mentality that a lot of international students have, I just admire so much. And it does come from that military background that I can recognize it, I think. But I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I mean, really, leaving your family behind, moving thousands of miles away to a new land, getting accustomed to the way things work over here, trying to, run to different places within the university just to secure your living arrangements,
Mhm.
trying to make connection with the people, uh, understanding how things work here with the transportation system, with your living arrangements, and then lectures, getting in touch with your professors,
Mhm.
the orientation.
It's a
And
lot, yeah.
yeah, it's to be honest, it is a lot. And getting it all together, it all comes at once. And I would say to look at things in a positive light, because all these experiences that you gather along the way will only make you stronger.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your admissions process when you first started applying. So when you first start, how many colleges did you reach out to? Was it
Ooh,
just SF State or?
ooh, nice question.
Mhm.
So I applied to like 7 to 8 different universities. My initial preference was one of the Cal State universities.
Mhm.
Uh, my personal preference was the university at San Jose State University.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah. So, considering the domain that I was getting into, I am pursuing, for our listeners, I am pursuing my master's in business analytics. And I was looking for universities all across the states. And like I mentioned earlier, that my
Mhm.
personal preference was Cal State. And I had applied to San Jose, but unfortunately, it didn't get through. And then SF State was also one of my options. And when I received that admit letter from the university, I was so happy to just have it in my hands and thinking about how life would eventually unfold in San Francisco. But the journey leading on to that was, I wouldn't say quite easy. So for
Mhm.
international students,
Mhm.
it's particularly difficult. Like we need to make our preparations a year in advance in order to just get into the program.
Yeah, I definitely
Right.
heard about that. Yeah. And I know that there's quite a bit of money involved, just fees that have to be paid, documentation that has to be prepped. And I think is it the I-9 that, or F-9 or F1
It is
student
the
visa?
F1 visa.
Yeah.
It's the F1 student visa.
hmm I know that has to be, you have to actually have that physical copy. You can't have the digital one because you need the ink signature in order to get into the States. And um, just that
Absolutely.
takes 3 months of shipping, maybe. It's just
Oh, yes,
ridiculous.
yes. No,
But
but then they've upgraded the system now. So some of the universities, they send it to you. So the first thing that you do is like get your documents aligned, which takes about 3 to 6 months, and it would
mhm,
always be advised to have it done in advance before you start off with application processes like this. uh, Not just the United States, but any university across the world, the process is more or less similar. You start a year in advance, you get your documents in order, and then you start sending it out to the universities. For the US particularly, they send out the F1 it's called the I-20 document, which
I
states
totally, yeah.
what course you're studying, in which university you'd be studying, and who's the person to contact in case you get into any trouble on the way to the United States, like before you're
hmm
entering. They are usually associated with the Office of International Programs, and they could have equivalent names in other universities, but it's the International Students Office in a generic name, if I would like to suggest.
hmm
Uh, they are the ones who are usually in touch with the officials at USCIS. So in case you're trying to enter the country and you get stopped at the border and they have some particular questions with regards to your coursework or just your profile in general, mostly it's not a problem. But in case if there's a hiccup they see in everything that you stated, they could probably run it by this person whose name is mentioned on your
hmm
I-20.
Yeah, and I think the thing about the I-20 is it's the school that's sponsoring you sort of has uh how do I say, they have a
They send it out to you. They
yeah,
send
yeah,
it out to
thank
you
you.
once you get admitted. There's certain details that you need to send to them, and once you receive that I-20 documents, that's like the first concrete
hmm
document that you can utilize apart from your admit letter, which is like a proper proof of your admission and uh, getting access to the country.
Gotcha.
It also specifies your fees, your student fees and your housing expenses. So all the budgeting that you do needs to be made around that, and that is something the USCIS looks at really carefully. So
Well, in line with that, actually, I wanted to get back. Let me just ask, was there, because I know you have to pay for insurance as well when you come to the States.
mhm.
Did the school offer you insurance, or did you go with another provider package?
So with Cal State and most of the other universities around, uh, okay, so this is an experience from a friend that I got to hear. With private universities, some of them they have a tie-up with one of the insurance companies, which is usually accepted by the university themselves, and you could
Hmm.
enroll with them. Uh, Otherwise, uh, you have to seek an insurance by yourself. Luckily for Cal State, since a few of my friends they had already studied here, they suggested that university has the GeoBlue company that gives out the insurances for the
Hmm.
students over here. My personal advice to all the students would be to take it for the entire year. And the reason for that is like when you switch between semesters, like if you've come during fall or spring, if you want to register for the succeeding classes in the next semester, unless you renew your insurance, you won't be allowed to register for the classes. So if you
Oh,
have
okay.
like a continual insurance for the entire year, you can enroll for the classes early on. Now, this could be a problem with regards to enrollment, is what I'm suggesting is
Hmm.
if you can't get a seat early on in the class, it's it's quite in a course. It's quite likely that you may miss the bus, basically not be able to enroll for that course because it's already full by the time you get with it. So the insurance kind of plays an important role. It maintains a continuous flow with regards to enrollment and everything. So that's why, as for my case, as per my friend's advice, I had taken the full year's insurance at the beginning itself because one of my friend is currently experiencing that problem.
Oh,
He's not
okay.
able to enroll for the course, and now he's having to fight tooth and nail just to secure a place within that course.
Wow. Yeah, and where along in that process of from college application to coming to university on the first day, do you pick that insurance option? Is it during like an orientation program that you guys have? Like, just how far away from application?
The United States Customs and Immigration Systems requires you to have an insurance before you enter the country.
Okay.
So Cal State kind of understands that, and that is why they have the insurance system already in place.
Hmm.
So you don't essentially run through a problem when you are with the immigration officers. They see the insurance in place, they just let you through. It's no
Gotcha.
problem at all. Hmm. So
Okay.
you do it before you come to the States, and you need to be enrolled in a set number of courses before you can actually embark on your educational journey. For undergrad students, it's mostly 12 credits, and for master students, it's 9 credits.
Hmm.
So one coursework usually is equivalent to 3 courses, but depending if it's more practical or lab oriented, then the credits could differ. But mostly it's 3 credits for one particular course, and you need to enroll for minimum 3 to 4 courses based on what you're going to study, bachelor's or master's, whatever.
I wanted uh wanted to ask, was there a particular reason you chose to apply for specifically Cal State universities versus any of the UCs?
That's a very good question. And yes, first off, uh, Cal State University, um, being a state university, I was looking personally for an option where the tuition fee would be
Reasonable?
on the reasonable end. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Oh, I know.
I,
My again, my partner, I believe he pays something in the ballpark of $40,000 a year for tuition. And I know that also is for out of state students for UC Berkeley. And I know for SF State, it's 8,000 for in-state students for the year. And then for out of state and international, it's something, what, 19,000, something like that?
For the year, yes, for the
Gotcha.
year. Hmm.
It's just ridiculous to think how much uh, it's almost like it's like a 60% difference in how much you get charged solely
I
based
know.
on whether you're local or not.
Yeah,
And
so what comes into play is the non-resident tuition component, and that's like equivalent of the resident. It's actually slightly higher than the resident tuition component, and like you rightly pointed out,
hmm,
it's about 60% higher than what the normal students pay. But
it's just ridiculous. Ah, but I did want to say also that I mean that's why I chose FSO State was specifically not just tuition. It was like I just don't want to have to worry about student loans. I don't have to worry about the debt, and so it was a matter of I'm not going to a college if I can't
mhm.
pay for it. And so because I hear the horror stories about student loans all the time and just how much people rack up for uh,
Hey, but that's the
these.
beauty of the Cal State system.
Mhm,
So, with all the Cal State systems, what I've heard is you get access to the local transportation system, which is free
mhm,
of cost during the semesters, especially if you're coming from Asia or South Asia,
yeah.
Southeast Asia, any other part. I mean, if you're from Europe, then you're well off. But
Mhm.
money saved is money earned is the principle that I stand by. And with regards to transportation, if you're saving money, you're saving quite a lot of it, and you get to see places around.
Absolutely. A high cost of living in the Bay Area. Let's not get that
Yes,
wrong.
it's
That's
it's
a
it's
hundred
it's like
percent.
the costliest city
Yeah.
in the states right now.
I mean, well, that's why SS State is a huge commuter school for a reason. It's just because
Hmm.
no one's crazy enough to live here. Um,
Hmm.
but you are right. The benefits to living in the Bay Area are immense. I mean, SF State, they do give you the free transportation for buses, and they do give you a discount for our metro, which is our BART
BART
system. Yep.
is the mhm. And
Um,
you can use that to like travel, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 miles north and south both ways, and it's pretty efficient. That's the first and like the most best thing I liked about San Francisco was the transportation network here. So from
mhm.
what I'd heard before I arrived here, that in any other part of the states it is not possible to go around without a car, because
It's
usually all the
impossible. Yeah.
it's so far off, you cannot do without a car. But here the city is so well connected. We have the local trains over here, we have the metro, we have the buses. All of it is punctual. It is absolutely safe to travel at any time, evening
Hmm.
or night. And I didn't feel the need to buy a personal vehicle for moving around within the city, at least. And as a
Hmm.
student, personally, I feel that as long as you can travel within the city, that's good enough. That's good
Yeah.
enough. Hmm.
No, absolutely. Um, I want
There is another bonus I would like to throw
sure, yeah,
in
yeah.
with regards to my selection for Cal State, and with regards to expenses for students, okay,
Hmm.
international students, it's mostly living expenses that's like on the higher end. And apart from that, everything else, if it is supplemented by any other option, it's always a good thing. Fortunately, the Cal State system for international students, they offer groceries, which is
Hmm.
like a big plus. I cannot imagine how much of savings I've been able to make simply because of the groceries that are provided here.
Hmm.
Raw groceries like grains and rice, and then they provide sauces of different kind, ready to cook stuff. That has made life so easy on days when I didn't have the strength to whip something up for myself. I
Hmm.
could just binge onto something that was provided by the university. So yeah, that also like helped me save big time. So I had read about this well before I was going into my university selection process. And as far as the quality of education is concerned, it is quite nice, I would say. The College of Business that I am studying at, it's considered amongst the top 8%. within the
Yeah,
United
8,
States?
10%. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was for business. I thought it was 8, 10% in the world actually, is what I
Yes,
had heard. Yeah.
yes,
Which
yes.
is, I took some accounting classes for my minor and I'm like, I don't know about that. Okay.
Hey, I
Uh,
mean, what you're doing is great. I mean, this platform is what you're doing is a wonderful initiative because students they usually don't tend to get a first-hand experience of
mhm.
how it would be once they switch from high school to a college, what
It's
kind of problems they might come across, how life would be, will they be able to fit in,
it's very much
strike a
sink or
conversation
swim
with someone.
right after
Yes,
high school. Very much
yes.
sink or swim, and very much you need, no one's going, that was the biggest thing for me, is no one's going to help you out. And I can't imagine what it's like for international students when you don't even have family support, or any
Mm-hmm.
student who just moves so far away from their family. But um for me, on the, at least my family is right across the bay. I can visit them in an hour and a half. They're far enough
Mm-hmm.
away where they won't bother me, but
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they're an important resource. They're my advisors in a sense. So um my
Kudos to you, Andrew, for
well,
starting off something like this. This is going to be like I cannot tell you like students back home, at least in my country. I am from India,
yeah.
and people really seek valuable information like this because they don't get it anywhere. It's
Oh,
not there in any forums or something. It's something that's coming right out of a person who's experiencing it firsthand. And through this platform that you have provided, reaching out to people like that, it's something that you're doing is it's unimaginable. It's a great initiative. So thank you for
thank you.
that, Andrew.
No, thank you. I'm like, are you a spokesperson for AS? You were like, just like, oh, Cal State's so great. They do this, they do that. Now you're a spokesperson for my podcast. I'm like, I got to get you on my marketing team. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd be
Um,
happy to enroll.
no, I'm gonna have you back on for a couple episodes, whether it's capital planning and state schools, because construction's exploding everywhere. We could talk all about that because
We could do that. We could
we
do that.
could, but
Yeah.
hey guys, this is Andrew Harper. Just a quick reminder that if you like what you hear, come check us out on Patreon, YouTube, or Instagram for more content. Thank you. On the note of that that little access you're talking about
Mhm.
for certain international students, what would you say are some biases that go against international students, whether it's applying for a college or whether it's even applying for a job after college? Uh, I can sort of get the ball rolling here, but there has definitely
Okay.
been just some biases that I've noticed, at least.
Hmm. So, with regards to applying to colleges, biases, I would say if you fit as per the coursework that you intend to take, I personally don't feel it
Hmm.
should be a problem getting in. It's because so imagine this: you studied something like maybe a field within arts, and then you apply to a program which is like too ambitious. It's a career change. In
Hmm.
that sense, the university obviously won't be very open to accepting you because you don't have the requisite experience in order to understand what is going to be taught within the course.
Hmm.
But suppose if you're studying, say, mass media, okay, and then you embark onto a journey in on the next step, maybe a bachelor's or a master's, something like that, within the same domain. If you have qualitative projects or some form of small work that you must have done at within your local arrangement, the colleges really value that. So what they're looking at is not where you're coming from, but the kind of value that you can personally add to the learning atmosphere within your classroom, what kind of experiences you're bringing along, what are your learnings. And because here it's not rote learning uh, right from the textbooks, it's not repetitive, it's not something that
Absolutely.
by
But
memorization.
And just to add on to that, I mean, from my experience and the research I did before this episode, America is very much an individualist mindset. We really value what you as an individual brings to the table. We're not necessarily impressed with. I mean, we are impressed with technical stuff and uh, uh, grades and GPAs aren't the end all be all. There's also a certain factor of authenticity that you have to be able to bring. Um, Things like if you're a go-getter, things like I'm trying to think.
Oh yes, most definitely. What you're referring to is like being an well, equally involved in extracurricular and co-curricular activities, something that you have going on personally,
Mhm,
which is related to the course that you're applying to. All these things are highly valued. I've heard of people who've scored like 340s on their GRE, which is like
mhm.
340s out of 340,
Yeah.
and they haven't been able to get to Columbia and Stanford for the courses that
Mhm.
they were looking at.
Yeah.
But someone who had like a relatively low GPA, and they had a decent GRE score, but just because they had qualitative projects or some small gig they must have done,
Mhm.
and they got in,
Yeah.
no problem.
It's it's the grades will only get you so far
Yes,
is definitely what I've been learning through all this, but also you have to be able to bring a bit of yourself to the table. And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
um, are there any challenges that you've had to face as an international student that your local peers don't while in college? Not necessarily the application process, but are there any challenges or things that might um, or any benefits either to being international?
Personally, like I mentioned, I was fortunate enough to be around places, and
Hmm.
I want to be clear about this. It has given me a benefit in that sense, to be able to like really get into the culture that works here. But some of the students, they find it difficult to properly engage with the citizens around here, just
Hmm.
because of the communication gap that they experience. They are not able to express their
Hmm.
thoughts in an articulate sense.
I think
Plus, yeah.
just to add on to that, I took a media criticism class. It was very Marxist, but I love the teacher and everything. But I remember during the class discussion there was um we were talking about people who speak different languages, and one of the people in the back of the class had commented, and I can't quite remember what she said, but it was along the lines of, "I speak Spanish, and I also am learning English," and the teacher in the professor pointed out in front of the class, why is it that our mentality is always either a that uh, oh, this person doesn't quite speak English. Oh, this kind of not degrading, but lowering thought that we have towards somebody else. And why is it not typically, how incredible is it that somebody is learning another language? Not necessarily that they already know it, but the fact that they're even just applying themselves to learn English, which is one of the hardest languages due to the amount of rules it breaks constantly left and
I
right.
agree. I
And
agree.
I when I took I took Spanish for 5 years, and my stepfather's Hispanic, and so is my step grandparents. And when I was learning the grammar and everything, I'm like, this just makes more sense. Like the present tense, it's just the how the rules are structured, and there's very little going outside of that. Um,
Hmm.
and then also my boyfriend speaks Mandarin. He's from Taiwan. Um, and again, it was just learning another language has been, especially English, has just been so difficult. But um, I always did that. That was a big takeaway from that class, was the fact that I never actually thought to myself how incredible it is, and I told myself I would never do that again. If there is somebody uh, who does speak another language, who is a non-English speaker, um, that I would definitely be sure to um, how do I say, gosh, sometimes I can't speak English.
It's
Uh,
just a medium of expressing yourself.
mhm,
A, if a person, like I mentioned earlier in a conversation, like if the person can really add value in what language he or she can do that, that is only a challenge with regards to time.
mhm,
Sooner or later, everyone is able to bridge that gap with regards to language. But I would say it is definitely advised to get familiar to a basic level.
mm,
This is for people who are coming in, like get familiar to a basic level of English. I mean, I know that people give GRE, and GRE is like an aptitude test which covers your mathematics and your language and
mhm,
your what do they call it, reasoning capability. And then there's another test that we need to take. It's test of English as a foreign language. People do appear for those tests, they score really well, but when it comes to communicative mediums, they are not able to express themselves properly. They can probably do it better in a written sense, but when it comes to verbal, they can't really do that. So even if it's a basic level, people should really start working on that. And as for the locals here, I would say people are generally very accommodating. But if
mhm,
someone is not, if someone is facing a language barrier, it would definitely be appreciated that you try to help the person express themselves. For
mhm.
for you know, it really demoralizes if you are made fun of,
Oh,
if you can't
absolutely.
really
Yeah.
speak the language, because that sticks around. And college is like the time of your life where your mind it's like an earthen pot in the making.
Okay.
You're really shaping it, you're molding it. And this kind of scar, it sticks around. People hold
Yeah.
that for life, and they're not able to get to the best of their potential. So
Mhm.
uh, just be accommodating to someone who's not able to communicate properly.
No,
Always
absolutely.
advise that.
Um, uh, it doesn't, you don't even have to be accommodating, just be patient with the person. And
Hmm.
that is more than enough, I think. But yeah, it's just, uh, I've been, my boyfriend's talked about extensively a lot of the, especially it's mostly middle school and high school that a
Hmm.
lot of bullying takes place because nobody knows who the hell they are and everyone's going through puberty.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to mock or belittle somebody else. But it's has that happened in college very much? Any sort of any degrading or mocking towards you with any regards to? I mean, you speak very well. I mean, that's why I have you on the podcast. Is just
Hey,
because
thank you
you
so much
got
again.
such a strong voice. But has that ever? Have you ever had that experience?
I know people who have had
Mm,
these experiences.
yeah.
Uh, First off, they just get deterred by someone who comes off as strong in their sense of communication. They're like, okay, this person already speaks so well. I will not be able to get into a conversation with this person, let alone strike a meaningful conversation. So they're just generally deterred by that.
Hmm.
But there are some of them who come from a decent background, and they are able to sail through these waters quite easily. So I would say with time it gets better. But like you mentioned, uh, be patient.
Hmm.
Be patient to such people. They also have something to offer. It's just that you give them the opportunity to let them be themselves, and they will get around eventually. Yep.
Well, we are running a little low on time. I'm going to get to the last question here before we wrap up.
Yep.
Final question for you. What are your plans after college? Do you plan to stay in the States? What does your post-college future look like?
So the idea of coming here and studying was, I was really bogged down by the educational background that I had back home. I had done
Mhm,
my undergrad in mechanical engineering. Uh, Everything that was to be learned had been taught by my professors. But in a field like engineering, or uh, take media for example.
Hmm.
If you learn something that's archaic, it's not going to help you get into the market that's prevalent right now. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
none of the employers are going to sit and train you for hours together, like this is how things work, or this is how it is, and this is what this is called.
hmm.
Nobody's going to do that. So the whole idea of coming here and educating myself was to get in touch with the industrial standards, the current trends, and also because the learning experience is quite collaborative over here, I get to hear experiences from different students. Some of them they have previous working experience. Some of them are freshers. Everyone has something, a different perspective to offer on a similar problem.
Well, that's been my experience with. I am so glad that I came straight to a 4-year state college. I was deciding between that or community college and just worrying about my GEs, but just because it would have been cheaper. But coming to a state school has been really eye-opening for just how diverse, not just from people's backgrounds, but people's majors and people's thought processes, where they want to do with their lives, has been very eye-opening. I mean, I would not be a broadcasting major now if I had not have gone to SO State. So that collaboration and that everyone gets to kind of talk to each other and figure things out as they're figuring out who they are has been arguably the greatest experience that I've had in college, just because it has defined and shaped so much of just who I am. Um, and so I think it gets overlooked quite a bit. But I'm sorry to interrupt like that. Yeah.
It is so highly underrated. Like on a particular problem, it's always better to have more eyes and more minds working together. You get to approach the same problem with n number of solutions. In this particular case, it's also the same as take for example, if someone has been born and raised in Fiji, just a
Hmm.
random example I'm
Yeah.
giving out. I have no idea about their culture, no idea about what language is spoken there, and I would be more than happy to know how things work there. So when they show up to a place where there's people from different parts of the world all get together, it's so exciting to just
Hmm.
think about it. That okay, this is how things work in that part of the world, or this is the kind of system that they use within their city, which could be applied, with some form of improvement or some finesse maybe.
Hmm.
It could be extruded and used in some particular problem that you need to solve over here or just all over the world.
Yeah.
So that always helps. That always helps. Plus, you also get to understand the kind of toil that they had to face with regards to the situation back home. Some of them are fortunate, some of them are not so fortunate with regards to their background, and for them it's really a big leap, I would say, leaving their family behind, leaving their country behind, coming here, setting base, housing, everything, all of that jazz.
It's an uphill battle. It really is.
Yes. So I would say the moment you get an opportunity, if you're sitting at a table and sitting at a table with familiar people, I would say get into an environment or a table which is uncomfortable, in the sense, uncomfortable. By uncomfortable, I mean people whom you won't be so familiar with in terms of what their culture is or what their background is. It's always good to engage in conversations like that, because there's so many things that you could learn just merely from that conversation, and you make new friends, of course.
Absolutely. Um, so I do. So do you plan on traveling after college then, or are you going to try and find a work visa here for someone to sponsor?
Well, as far as my visa is concerned, we have the optional practical training extension that is provided
The
uh,
OPT, yeah,
by the OPT.
and that
It
gives you
allows me to.
how much time does it give you after college? It was about a year or something like that.
So for non-STEM majors, it's about a year, and for STEM majors, it's about 3 years.
Oh,
So
good.
you could utilize that time to really learn in the professional atmosphere how things work here,
Hmm.
and accrue all that experience and go back to your home country, start off a business, or just get back into workforce back home and share your learnings from this beautiful country and everything that it has to offer.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk to you. I did want to, I do have some bonus content that we'll have to get to another day, but
Mhm.
other than that, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Any advice for students or anything like that before we wrap up?
Try to have a positive mindset, be open to all the experiences that will come to you. Uh, your your university facilities, tap into everything.
Mhm.
Try something that you've never tried before. You will definitely come out with something new, something that will give you an edge over the others. Get out of your comfort zone and just explore and spread your wings and fly.
I would offer the same advice I give just about anybody else who asks, which nobody asked, but I give the same advice. Um, find a club or an organization that will
Hmm.
support what you want to do and will help you network. I think college, the second biggest thing besides figuring out who you are in college is networking. And I would say it's tied for
Yeah,
number one with
absolutely. I
that.
forgot to mention that the
Mhm.
networking part, it's so valuable. You make friends or acquaintances along the way,
And they're
but
not
they
just your
stick
friends,
around.
they're going to be your
Hmm.
coworkers, they're going to be
Hmm.
people who are going into the same industries as you, people who are living in the same region as you. They will be impacted by the same policies that you will be impacted by politically, socially, economically.
Hmm.
Um, these people are your peers and they are your generation. So definitely make friends with them, I would say. Uh,
Always advised. You never know, like that friend from the dental department who's doing his master's or bachelor's probably, and you end up breaking a tooth and you don't know which doctor or dentist would you want to be referred to, and there's your friend would be waiting to help you out. Then there's another one who could be probably a carpenter maybe, and he knows the best woodworking place that you're looking for, and that person could probably refer you to someone or maybe do the job by himself.
mhm,
uh, always try to engage in clubs and learn everything that you can and make friends along the way. Always
absolutely.
recommended.
But
Great point you made, Andrew.
I know. I got some good points I can bring. But we are out of time for today. Addie, I do want to keep talking with you more about international students. To all of our listeners, if you want to hear more of Aditya and myself, head on over to our Patreon where you can access this bonus content for as little as $1. Addie, where can people find more of you?
So my Instagram handle is at Kochle Aditya. It's KOCHLEADITYA. And you can also find me on Twitter. Uh, my handle is at Aditya Kochle. It's the Instagram handle reversed. So it's ADITYA
Mhm.
KOCHLE. Yeah,
Great.
I can be reached out to these two places.
Great. Addie, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. I want to bring you back on to talk more about so much now, but we will have to wait until another day. Uh, I'm your host, Andrew Harper. If you want to listen to more of this podcast, you can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and Patreon. We also post content on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Uh, again, I'm your host, Andrew Harper. And as always, thanks for listening. Bye.